I've brought up my nostalgia for the Commodore 64 quite frequently here and on Twitch, taking any excuse I can get to sing the praises of a formidable gaming machine that, while not forgotten, doesn't get anywhere near as much appreciation as the NES does. But while the Commodore may have been my first gaming love, I did have an NES, then a Genesis when I was younger, and have quite a few fond memories for those consoles as well. I vividly recall the Christmas I got my NES. I had, and still have, the habit of starting with the smallest gifts first. Then I work my way up. The first gift I opened up was Super Mario Bros. 3. I instantly lit up. Not only was I anticipating playing a great game, but I didn't have an NES yet. So I knew what that big box was under the tree and waited patiently for my turn. The next year I reused the box to enclose a small bracelet I'd gotten from my sister. She still hasn't forgotten this. Only a few years ago she gave me a gift bag with a GameStop gift card attached to a brick. I didn't own many games growing up, relying mostly on rentals to keep myself occupied. Super Mario Bros. 3 kept me quite occupied, playing and replaying that gem the whole time I owned the console. Mission Impossible also caught my fancy, a game that seemed to be similar to Metal Gear, but based on the classic TV spy series. It had slightly less stealth focus and slightly more action, and it is not an easy game. To this day, I've not yet completed it. Another oddball was Bill and Ted's
Excellent!
video game adventure. Another difficult adventure game that sees you romping around different time periods, trying to entice historical figures back to their proper time and place. I've never beat it without a Game Genie, as the difficulty ramps up severely toward the last few stages, but I still enjoy the graphics, music, and quirky Bill and Ted humor. One of my all-time favorites, though, was Maniac Mansion, and though I love the Commodore 64, I have to admit the NES version's the best out of the bunch. The music is some of my favorite chiptune fare, and its relatively open-ended structure kept me coming back for more, since the story could be slightly different depending on the path you took through the game. While Super Mario Bros. 3 has a soft spot in my heart, I'd have to give the favorite platformer title to Blaster Master. The music is epic, and the open-ended exploration that required backtracking was my entrance into the genre that would later be called Metroidvania. I've got fondish memories of leaving the NES on overnight, just so I could continue later since there's no save or password system. I could go on, but I'll be getting into this one more in depth in the future soon. There are a few games that I never owned, but I remember playing at the homes of friends and relatives. There was Pinbot, Snake Rattle and Roll, and RC Pro-Am. They all fall into this category, and when I restarted my collection, I made sure to grab these titles as well. Shortly after I finally got an NES, the Genesis released. I got an introduction to the console at friends' places with the likes of Sonic, Shining in the Darkness, and Cyborg Justice. One day a friend told me he wanted to sell his Genesis and games, so I put out an ad to find a buyer for my NES and games. It ended up being just the right amount, and I moved from the 8-bit world into the 16. One of my absolute favorites was Toe Jam and Earl. I didn't really know the term roguelike at the time, but I couldn't deny the value of a game that would generate differently every time you played. And the on-the-fly split screen made it perfect for playing the game with my sister. We'd also collaborate on another favorite of mine, The Lost Vikings by Silicon and Synapse, who'd go on to become Blizzard Entertainment. It was a puzzle game designed around 3 swarthy individuals that each had their own skills, but you had to use all of those skills together to make it through each level. It's perfectly playable single player, but teaming up makes it a little easier and a lot more fun. I never really finished the game despite the fact that I had noticed a pattern with the level passwords and guessed the one that led to the final boss. The Shining series would be my first major introduction to the RPG genre. I picked up Shining in the Darkness when I got my Genesis, but Shining Force and Shining Force 2 were also pretty high on my list of treasures. They may not have been the architects of the tactical RPG genre, but you can definitely see the inspiration from these games in other games like Vandal Hearts, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Disgaea. I even had a Game Gear for a while and had to make sure I got the Sword of Hajia for Shining on the Go. One of my more treasured gaming items, however, is my copy of Sonic & Knuckles. Sonic 3 & Knuckles is by far my favorite Genesis platform experience, but the game is also important to me as it was the last gift I got from my dad before he died. It's a great memory among all the others, and along with the Commodore 64 I still own, it's a great reminder of the good times we shared around the controller ports. What are some of your favorite bits of gaming nostalgia? Leave a comment below or hit me up on Twitter at TesseractUnfold so we can reminisce together. Also, since this is a Shuffle Month, you can retweet one of the posts of this video for a chance to win some of the games that I mentioned today. One person will win Maniac Mansion, Blaster Master, and Snake Rattle and Roll. In the meantime, like, subscribe, spread the word, and I'll catch you guys all again next week.